Black Clover confirmed Asta unlocking Heavenly Severance, otherwise known as Zetten. This ability will increase his power 100 times and eventually split the sky in half, according to legend. However, there is another devastating secret Ryu is hiding. We've all speculated Ryu has Astaroth's eye, but I found even more evidence regarding his special ability which will blow your mind by the end of this video. The chapter starts off immediately with Ichika pulling in Asta. To avoid getting slashed, he uses Devil Union to dispel and negate the magical force acting on his body. However, as Lucius pointed out, physical attacks are Asta's weakness, whom Ichika exploits as she uses that opening to kick him into the waterfall. But Asta immediately bounces back with an equinox slash of his own. He speeds up to strike Ichika, but as soon as he approaches her, she vanishes and reappears above him with a myriad of after images. She states that her dark Yojutsu is best suited for physical and sword fights, aka close range battles, thanks to the ability of her spell, Black Star. This is pretty convenient for a melee focused fighter as she can always pull her opponent to where she has an advantage. We have seen her brother Yami use a similar ability called Black Moon, which countered the gravity of Dante because a black hole absorbs all light and everything in its vicinity, allowing him to slap them up like a bitch. But Asta ain't no punk bitch, as he counters with his Demon Destroyer sword, cancelling out her spell, where they both realize that they cannot win without landing a solid hit. They both rush at each other, exclaiming that to win this battle you need true strength, and that the winner of this fight will be the one who can perform the best Zetten, otherwise known as Heavenly Severance. However, Asta gets caught off guard by Ichika, who kicks his forehead into the water, stating that there's no way that someone like him could beat her in a battle of Zetten.
I'm blocking you. That was the dumbest shit I heard all day.
Who's gonna tell her he's the main protagonist of a shonen manga? No, really. Didn't they state in chapter 339 that it takes decades to master basic ki and only the Ryuzen have mastered it? But here comes a foreigner named Asta who did it in one day, and in that same day he figured out his Zetten's form. Achieving Zetten should take decades. What is this? Ichiko's Bankai training?
Whether you like him and don't like him is nothing you could do about him because he's number one.
Ichika commits another major sin to our amazing community, ladies and gentlemen. She proceeds to mock Asta's dream to become Wizard King, as he has no determination, no conviction, and no real strength, being the reason why he would never reach the rank. Now, what's funny is how the land of the rising sun has a different problem compared to the Clover Kingdom. Asta's dream was mocked over there due to classism, where he was a peasant with no magic power. People judged him on these pillars. However, Ichika loves Ryu, who is magicless just like Asta, but she doesn't respect him due to acting xenophobic. Think about it. Foreigners are known in this land to cause problems, evident in chapter 339, which meant Ichika immediately hated and disrespected Asta, despite Ryu's nice nature to support him. Ryu even goes out of his way for others not to notice that he's a foreigner, as it will cause problems and a lot of questioning. Heck, Ryu even mentions how Asta's problem is theirs, as Lucius will destroy their land too. But Ichika, she doesn't pay heed to that because Asta likes Yami and is a foreigner, which means he must die. Ichika is likely following the Bushido code and has a lot of pride in their respect of tradition, but that doesn't mean she should judge Asta so swiftly despite not knowing his story and feelings. Her brother Yami parallels this, as he too felt racism and was ostracized for his personality by the Clover Kingdom when he first arrived, being a foreigner. So she's making a very big mistake. But this mistake is what will cause her character development. Asta tries to understand her and is doing all the right actions to create a resolvement, as he feels her ki just like he did with his brother Liber. He discovers that Ichika is hiding something within, which is causing her hatred. Obviously, it's the PTSD of losing her family and the grudge she held on those responsible. And the center of that grudge is her brother, who is Asta's sensei and captain. So now, this dude shows up in her life who reminds Ichika of her brother who uprooted her entire life 16 years ago.
Emotional.
On top of that, he is already starting to master Zetten in a matter of a day, whilst it took her over a decade to get to that point.
Emotional.
Ichika must feel like everything she has trained for is worthless. She feels inferior to Asta, who is a substitute of her brother for her anger and resentment right now. Remember, in chapter 342, it was revealed that their clan was all about strength. Their father stated Sukehiro would be the strongest of them all, whilst Ichika was a worthless woman.
Emotional.
Now, I know how stupid it is to hear someone say Asta doesn't have determination when he is literally determination incarnate, pushing through anything with his sheer power of will. For God's sake, Mimosa said this guy should be dead and couldn't heal him, yet he still ended up defeating Lucifero, saying Mada Mada! And surpassed his limit for the 100th time, saving the entire world and not being recognized for it. But unlike Ryu, Ichika hasn't read the manga. Asta showcases his maturity because rather than focusing on the fight and her painful words, he is willing to peer into the deeper cause of someone's disdain. This wisdom and cool-headedness is exactly a trait that our future Wizard King will need, especially when it comes to breaking down the societal norms and bringing everyone to equality. Over his time as Wizard King, Asta will have to face those that irrationally dislike and hate him based on preconceived notions and prejudice and narratives that they've built in their own head. But another trait a Wizard King needs is the ability to whoop some ass. In his mind, he's found the way he wants to manifest his Zetten and says that if he can pull off a perfect Zetten, he has a shot at winning this fight. He unlocked a new power, ladies and gentlemen. Zetten is here. They both rush at each other furiously before Ryu steps in to stop them from going any further. And guys, please don't question how a motherless man stopped two godly threats with his arms.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
He must be a devil! You guys said it in the comments. Hit the notification bell if you want shoutouts just like these chads that have contributed their mana to the community. Anyways, the truth is, Asta not hurting Ryu makes sense because we were told his demon slasher chooses what to cut. It's a katana that doesn't cut what it wants to protect, which Ryu would have known due to his eye. Now, in terms of Ichika, well, that boils down to him pushing her hand away. And let's not forget she's in love with him and can sense ki. Am I right? But then, why does she state that she wants to commit seppuku, implying she wasn't aware that he was on the way?
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Like, how did this dude Ryu blitz there in time? Is he that fast?
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
While being magicless? Never mind, I'm gonna switch my brain off.
Okay.
Anyway, Asta looks appalled because he could not perform the Zetten properly. In his mind, it was completely his loss. He laments that if only he could master this power, then he would surely be strong enough because he simply doesn't have any other option against Lucius. But Asta asks Ryu if he's okay after tanking both of their attacks, despite being completely magicless. There is definitely more than meets the eye when it comes to Ryu. Get it? Because he likes an eye?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. But there is most definitely something odd going on with Ryu. He claims to be magicless, but still managed to become the shogun of the Hino country. He still had both his eyes back in Ichika's flashback in chapter 342, and down the line he lost an eye for the ability of clairvoyance. In the same flashback, Yami's dad states that the son of the Ryudo family was bound to be strong and have a lot of yoryoku. No one batted an eye when they met up for the first time, as if he wasn't magicless. With him becoming shogun without any magic power, it could be assumed that perhaps this was all thanks to him being such a charismatic figure. But with this feat and all the other inconsistencies regarding his character, you would be weird not to wonder what's up with Ryu. His full name, Ryudo, means the word dragon and eye, and it would be silly of us to discard it as a mere coincidence to the dragon mentioned in chapter 342. Since Tabata loves leaving such Easter eggs, there's clearly a connection between Ryu and the dragon whose yoryoku caused the water in the family's province to become a gateway to hell, especially considering the fact that he was familiar with the existence of devils. This is a clear hint regarding Ryu's eye, the dragon, and Ryu's lack of mana. Let me explain. In the flashback, Yami fishes up a puffer fish from the Black Ocean, except it has devil horns. The yoryoku from the ancient dragon is so strong that the fishes that live within it get the curse of Wei. These black horns sprout from the heads who use magic or power from the underworld. They are considered a curse since they indicate a loss in humanity. So who's to say that if a human played around with the water too much, that there could be a similar outcome? There's also the fact that Lucius and Ryu were introduced in the same arc, and clearly Tabata wants to draw a parallel between the two, since they're both the leaders of their respective nations who share a common ability, their ability to perceive everything to an almost omniscient level. I wouldn't be surprised if Tabata did this on purpose and is trying to represent a duality like he has done with so many characters before him. Currently, Ryu is manaless, but it's likely that his lack of mana and magic is a side effect of an attempt to gain the ability of clairvoyance. The reason behind this is most likely to be able to find Yami, who had disappeared to the Clover Kingdom. Just as he manages to calm down Ichika and Asta, he senses the presence of some other entities. It was about time for trouble to come knocking on the door. And yes, guess who's here? It's none other than our favorite girl, Sister Lily.
What?
That's right, the Paladins have finally made it their way to the Hino country, and this does not look good. In fact, there are some new, or should I say familiar faces in this army. First off, Sister Lily is back to emotionally traumatize our boy Asta for the second time. Yay!
Say that shit again.
Secondly, do you recognize who these people are?
No.
I mean, come on, the guy on the right is clearly Heath.
Who?
It seems like Lucius has not chosen these paladins by chance. In fact, the ones he sent to Asta are all familiar to him, as Heath was the first Eye of the Midnight Sun antagonist that Asta actually beat, who would later kill himself. Now, Sister Lily stated she had the intention to kill Asta, but subconsciously could have saved him. However, Lucius is under the impression Asta died in chapter 335, which would mean that the Paladins were sent to this land to face Ryu to retrieve his all-seeing eye. Lucius can see the future, but not the present events. This could be because of Asta's power being split apart. If Lucius has the power to see the future, and Ryu has the power to see the present, then perhaps a third eye to see the past can exist as well. Remember, back in the Seabed Temple arc, when Veto used a devil spell, he awakened a third eye, which means having 3 eyes is linked to the devil anatomy. Lucius has already achieved his goal of forming the Paladins and taking over Hell, so why isn't the story over yet? It's because Lucius wants to future-proof his plans, which means Lucius wants to gain the ability to see the present as well as the future, because then he will truly become unstoppable and no one would be able to create calculated plan to counter his many possibilities that he sees, as the chances of the future he wants will increase if he knew exactly what they were doing. In turn, Ryu would know Lucius would be coming after him due to his eyes seeing the present, which would give him even more reason why he wants Asta to learn Zetten and increase his power 100 times, as Asta is the only anomaly Lucius declared that could defeat him, which Ryu clearly agrees. Now, if you want to enjoy more peak fiction, watch our Chainsaw Man video on Denji's true power.